It's already quite warm, and it's only 9:20 in the morning. That roar you can hear is the A9, which is practically within spitting distance down there. Traffic thundering past. I'm in Birnam. I almost said Dunkeld then, but they are two distinct villages, Dunkeld and Birnam, and you confuse them and link them together at your peril. I'm in Birnam, and today I'm heading up Birnam Hill. This is really a very quick up and down for me, no faffing about. I've got family coming down from Inverness this afternoon, so I just needed something to get out quickly and stretch the legs before I get here. And Birnam is just down the road really, 40-minute drive from where I stay in Fife, so a very easy, good path to get up and stretch your legs on a cold winter's morning. It's actually been just horrific weather. The weather has completely reverted to type in the last week. December was cold, very cold on some days, frosty and relatively dry. Certainly in Fife it was dry. I think my weather station recorded 44 millimetres of rain in a whole month. But ever since we come to the new year, we had a bit of snow on 2nd of January, and it hasn't stopped. Stuff was falling from the sky, mostly rain, some sleet, a little bit of snow for 80 hours, I think it was in the end. And already, after just 4 days, we've almost beat the entire rainfall of December. So it's been very soggy, very wet. And typically, if you take that whole 80 hours as one big chunk, you imagine how much. It was cold, it was 2 or 3 degrees the whole duration. So it was only a shade off being a very significant snow event. And sadly, it only turned to snow and started to settle in the last hour of those 80 hours, typically, which is a shame. But anyway, it has been. I've been housebound, and not least because I've also been doing 2 presentations. I've got 2 talks next week for Rambler Scotland in my presidential role, off to the Crieff Rotary Club next Tuesday, and then we're off to Parliament on the Wednesday, and we're going to be celebrating 15 years of the Land Reform Act. 15 years since our access rights were enshrined in law. So I've essentially just been sat in my chair with my laptop for 3 days doing those. I've been desperate to get out, so this is me stretching my legs. Perhaps more significantly, one of the reasons to keep this walk short this morning is because tomorrow, with high pressure moving in, it is going to be possibly the coldest, brightest, sunniest, snowiest day of the season so far. I imagine the whole of Scotland is gearing up to get outside tomorrow. A lot of people will be heading out today, but it's very windy on the tops, and it's going to be a wind chill of minus 17, 18. So I think some people will be leaving it till tomorrow. I certainly am. Looking forward to heading out. Don't know where I'm going yet, but I dare say it'll be a snowshoe outing. There's a lot of snow has fallen in the last week or 2. So that's exciting. So I don't want to overdo it today and be tired for tomorrow. It's not quite as sunny as I said it was going to be. I was hoping if I got up early enough I'd get to see more of what's happening over there now, which is the sun coming up to the south. Oh well. It's northeasterly today, and the northeast is that way. So it's actually quite sheltered at the moment from this. All the weather forecasters have been talking about the last few days is the bitter wind that's going to be blowing. No sense of that just yet, thankfully. As you can see, it has had some snow on the ground. Pitlochry, Dunkeld, Crieff had a couple of inches, I think, of snow yesterday, but it's still been fairly mild. About as mild as you can get with it snowing. So it hasn't all accumulated And it has all gone a bit icy and a bit slippy. Anyway, any snow is nice to see. Birnam Hill's not huge, which is part of the attraction in doing it as a quick morning hill. 404 metres, and you're starting from fairly lofty height, I suppose. 100 and something metres maybe in Birnam. Not sure. Now it is worth going just to this little viewpoint stair bridge, as it has a nice view opening up across Perthshire. It is quite a view. Much of Perthshire, rural Perthshire opening up that way. Perth is actually behind the hill over there, so you can't see Perth. It's to the right of where you see the sun coming up. But it's just looking out across to the Sidlaws, I suppose, which is the hill range in the distance on the horizon, which is going all the way over there, which sort of tumbles down towards Dundee. And the Tay is on the other side, the Firth of Tay. I was up here, when was I up here? October, I think it was, when it was, the autumn colours were just kicking in. And it was a very, very sunny, beautiful sunny day. And with those colours, it was really, really astonishing and beautiful. I mean, Perthshire is a very beautiful place anyway, but in the autumn, with all the larch and everything coming in, it's amazing. Right, back on our way again. Well, there is a really beautiful light happening over there where the crepuscular rays of the sun are coming up over Fife. Isn't that lovely? Hoped it would be a little more sunny, but I am not complaining. Nice way to start the day. And there's the summit cairn. And the last few steps. There. You can see it's quite a wooded summit. In the same way as Craig and Darragh at Ballater, it's in a way it's a bit frustrating because the trees sometimes obstruct the better view, the full view. Certainly this way, and when you look that way north up the A9, further north, it's just all these larch getting in the way. Minor complaint. But I will have to come down a bit, I think, just so I can get a better view out towards the hills. Oh. I can see I'm going to be pretty much spoilt for choice tomorrow as to where to go to get the snow, because that's looking out, I think, towards Amelry, out towards Loch Fruki and that way, and you can see it looks pretty loaded to me. That looks like a pretty decent cover, even with the high winds we had last night that moved all the snow around. That's still looking pretty decent, and that's, you know, they're only what, 700-800 metres high, so I think there's going to be good cover pretty much anywhere. Looking over this way, the Oak Hills have definitely got a nice covering, and further out you can just see through the trees to Benaglow and Benvironment. They've certainly got a cover, as had the Cairngorms further over there. Right, on the way down, kind of. The usual way of doing this hill, I suppose, if you want to do a nice circular route, is to do it as a big circuit. You come up there from where I started, and then you come over the top and you come down through these woods, and you end up going a steep descent through the woods, and you come out, sort of, you're heading towards Dunkeld at that point, then you have to walk back through the forest along the base of the hill. Starting off this morning, the tracks in the forest down at the road are actually really icy, so I don't relish, well, it's ice on top of a soggy crust, so I don't really relish walking. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come a little way along here to a good viewpoint where you get a nice view of Dunkeld, and then I'm going to come back this way over the top and go down that way, because that's fairly snowy and it's not too icy. To my shame, this is only my second time up Birnam Hill, and to my even greater shame, that time I was talking about in October last year, was my first time, which is really shocking, really, when you consider how many times I must have driven past it, how all of us must have driven past this hill. Hundreds of times, twice in a day, frequently, always on the way to loftier hills somewhere else. And that's been the trend in recent years, I suppose, is sort of going back and exploring and discovering these little gems that I was usually too blinkered to actually sort of pay attention to before, just because they were too low, not high enough, not wild enough. But they're lovely little viewpoints. This is often the case. The wee hills often have better viewpoints than their higher counterparts, their neighbours. The good thing about coming up a hill like this the day before, going somewhere further afield for a snowier walk, is it's a good vantage point to sort of assess what it's like further afield. So you get a feel for the lie of the land and where the snow's been distributed. It's nice. Having said that, if you don't want to sort of use your legs in finding out where the snow's fallen and using your own eyes and seeing for yourself, if you want to use a less energetic, more modern way of doing things, a good website is snowforecast.com, and they have maps, static maps and also animated maps of where the snow has fallen and to what depth in Scotland over the last 7 days. I mean, it's not completely accurate because it's done on radar returns and things, but it's a pretty good illustration. I was looking at it yesterday, and certainly most of the snow does seem to have fallen in this neck of the woods, over towards Crieff, and especially the hills south of Loch Tay, Glen Almond in there. So even though those hills aren't the highest at 800 metres, that might be a good bet tomorrow, because that's where most of the snow's fallen. And also over towards the other side, the other side of Kirriemuir, so the Angus Glens seems to have got a lot. So I think it's going to be quite easy to find good snow tomorrow. Where to go though, that's the question. There we are. It's a bit cold. I should put my jacket on. It's better. Well, it's quite a view just as we're starting to get the sun. Wonderful viewpoint. Looking into Perthshire towards the Cairngorms. There's the Loch of the Lows over there, where you go to see the ospreys, of course. Over that way it's Dunkeld Hill, very, very lovely hill, Dunkeld Hill. And sort of tucked away into those hills there, that's Loch Ordy in there. That's where normally you go and park at the Cally sawmill, down the other side of Dunkeld. And it's great for biking, actually, for mountain biking up there. But all those hills that stretch all the way towards Pitlochry and towards Loch Ordy, very underrated, very quiet. Beaver country as well. You see lots of evidence of beavers along the river systems up there. Very interesting place, really nice. And then of course down here we have Dunkeld. Beautiful little place. Dunkeld is down there, and Birnam is on the other side of the river and is down there. And the two, although it looks like one settlement, like I say, are actually two distinct settlements. That bridge, a very nice bridge over the Tay, was apparently built by Thomas Telford in the beginning of the 19th century. Incredible man, think how prolific he was, Thomas Telford. things he built the Menai Suspension Bridge in Anglesey, the Caledonian Canal. He was commissioned to build all kinds of jetties, roads throughout the Highlands and Islands, and parliamentary churches. He designed and had commissioned churches built to a sort of standard design, and there was, I don't know how many, there was dozens of them in the Highlands and Islands, and it's sort of Thomas Telford's churches. And the Caledonian Canal, and then updated the Crinan Canal. He's a very prolific man, the things he did. And back in the day when you couldn't travel as widely or as quickly as you can now, it's remarkable what he achieved and where he achieved it, nationwide. And I think he did Somerset House down in London as well, so he did a lot of things. And the bridge at Ballater as well. He did lots of bridges, roads, jetties, harbours. He did all kinds of things. Quite an amazing man. The thing that really stands out, of course, when you walk anywhere around here, Dunkeld, Birnam, Pitlochry, because you're on the edge of the Tay Forest Park here as well, is just how many trees there are and what a wooded part of the country it is. You've probably heard it called big tree country in Perthshire. It's got a climate very conducive to massive trees from North America. Grow very well here. They grow, I think, at twice the rate they do in their natural habitat. And there was sort of a golden age of tree planting, I suppose, of when these people like David Douglas, who was born at Scone, and Alexander Menzies, who went around the world and to North America to sort of collect exotic trees and sent the seeds back. And David Douglas, of course, sent the seeds back for Douglas fir, the tree after which the tree after whom it is named. That's what I mean. He wasn't named after a tree. So he sent seeds back in the 19th century, and that's they're propagated here. Gave his name to the tree, the Douglas fir. A lot of those have come from North America now. There's lots of them around here, especially. But it was the age of the Enlightenment and just seeing things in new ways, and empire expanding. So needing a big supply of timber, but also this move to sort of beautify the landscape and have designed landscapes and designed landscape gardens and follies and things like that. It was all in that time. And the Dukes of Atholl, in particular, Blair Atholl is further up the A9 up there beyond Pitlochry. You can see Benvironment in the distance over there. It's just beyond there. But the Dukes of Atholl owned all this land, and they own a lot of it now. That's Atholl Estates in there. But they embarked on a massive tree planting scheme, and something like 27 million trees they planted in under 100 years, including 15 million or so larch, European larch, which is what all these ones are. Larch is the one that is it's a conifer, but those are all conifers. So 27 million or so conifers they planted, but larch is the one that actually sheds its needles in the winter. It's very unusual for a conifer to do that. So that's these ones. These ones that got this beautiful colour. They give much of this part of Perthshire its colour in autumn. The gold colour. And certainly, this when you go up the A9, following the Tay, up here, up this thoroughfare now. All these woodlands originate from that massive phase of tree planting, and then afterwards as well. So the Hermitage is a designed landscape just round the corner at the Hermitage where the big trees are. That's a designed landscape too. It's since been supplemented by the Forestry Commission. But massive tree planting on the huge scale. It's an incredible thing, and the legacy of it now is that we've got all these amazing forests to actually enjoy. The stuff that's been planted since then, of course, since the Forestry Commission era, is a lot more regimented, I suppose, and a lot of Sitka spruce and stuff like that has been planted. Certainly a lot of it over that way, a lot of spruce. So it's a real mix of trees here. So it's not all of this is planted by the Dukes of Atholl. So further up, the big old trees are, and like I say, it's been supplemented since. But it's a beautiful landscape. Way off in the distance over here, if we look way beyond, like I say, over here, that's Dunkeld Hill over there, behind which is Loch Ordy. Looking just to the left here, looking into the Cairngorms now, and if it will focus on it. Yeah, you can just now see the white outline of Benaglow, sort of the three distinct summits of Benaglow. It's 1, 2, 3, the three Munros, and then to the left of that we have Benvironment just sort of disappearing into the cloud over there. Actually looks like it might even be snowing over there. So that's looking north. And then looking over that way, looking past the massive Griffin wind farm, and just the other side of that is the road that goes from Crieff to Aberfeldy. And if you go further into those hills, you get the road that goes from Amalri to Kenmore on Loch Tay, which has actually been closed the past week, I think. They had, I don't know if you've ever driven up that road. There's hairpins. It's an amazing sort of road that goes over the tops of the hills, but it's not treated in winter, so some people have been stuck and there's cars abandoned up there just now. So yeah, only the fools head up there, I think, without properly equipped cars this time of year. Like I say, I've only really started coming up here recently, and indeed I've only really started exploring Dunkeld and surrounds in the last 2 or 3 years. Like I say, to my shame, because I've always on the way to somewhere else, going to other places, and you never really, I think you do sometimes overlook what's on your immediate doorstep, and it's only half an hour up the road for me. So I'm enjoying discovering all the forests around here, especially I'm getting an increasing amount of pleasure from walking around forests, especially in winter, so it's a really nice place to come and explore. And I always think that it would be nice to come here just for 2 or 3 days. Even though it's just down the road, I could easily drive here in 40 minutes. I think it's a nice place to come and base yourself, and I keep meaning to do it, to come up here just for a short break. Base yourself down in Dunkeld and explore, because I've never been to Loch of the Louds either. Never fully explored over that way. So I must do that one day. I must have a break in Dunkeld. And part of me always thinks it must be quite a nice place, a nice base, because you're the other side of Perth, so you don't have to go through all that traffic. It must be quite a nice place to live, I've always thought. But then you've always got the A9 thundering up, and there is the plan to dual the A9, of course, along its entirety, so it can only get noisier, this, staying here. Beautiful as it is, you do have this, what essentially will be a motorway, I suppose, at one point, thundering up the glen. So yeah, maybe not. Right, well, I think I might make moves to go back. It's 10 to 11, so I set off, 10 past 9. And I have been faffing with the camera, so you can tell it's a quick jaunt up here or not. The route down just takes you through these trees and down this hill, and you emerge just on the edge on this side of the motorway, not the motorway, on this side of the A9 and this side of the railway, and then you just sort of go along the bottom of the hill along here. When it's not icy, it's actually a fine walk through beech woodland. It's nice, but I think it is icy down there just now, so I'm going to go back the way I came. Plus that means if I go that way, I'm actually might get the sunshine and still get the views. As you can see these clouds up here, these peculiar sort of wispy, undulating clouds. It's indication of how windy it is up there at height. Clouds like that shows it is very windy. It was very windy last night, and there was it certainly will have shifted all the snow around on the hills, on the higher hills. So it'll be interesting going tomorrow underfoot. I'm sure it's getting colder, actually. I haven't had gloves on. My fingers are getting cold all of a sudden. Feels a bit like the day after tomorrow. There's a sudden onset of cold. It's nice. It's quite amazing how much snow there is here. Really, we're below 400 metres here. And they're only just up the road from the Lomond Hills in Fife and East Lomond, which is 424 metres, I think. Barely got anything on it. West Lomond had a nice, fairly substantial white cap today when I was driving out. But we're only just, we're only up the road here, and yet at a much lower level there's much more snow. And yet it was snowing at home. The precipitation was falling all of yesterday and all of the day before. It's funny, isn't it, how the distance from the coast in particular makes such a big difference. Well, don't say I don't spoil you. 2 summits for the price of 1. Here we are again. Lovely. Okay, time to go. I've got chores to do, family to meet, things to do, which is a good thing about a small hill. You've still got pretty much the whole day left once I get home. Actually, it's worth looking just out here. Look at these hills now out towards Lochfruki. Really beautiful. How about that? Gorgeous. I'm half tempted to go over there tomorrow. You'll find out in the next vlog exactly where I went. Right, wherever you are, enjoy the snow.